Why you shouldn't be harvesting during frost but absolutely need to water your plants when it's this cold outside, and why using your Christmas tree in the garden might not be the best idea, find out in this video. Here are the 17 most important gardening tasks for January. In my opinion, you can never have too many garden beds. It just so happens to be the perfect time to create new ones, so maybe this is something you are interested in. The way you set up your garden beds has such a significant impact on how much work your garden will require later on, which is why I would highly suggest you to start a no-dig garden. Let me tell you, it is so much easier to grow veggies, especially if you have a tight schedule or family or work to take care of and you don't want your garden to stress you out. Then a no-dig garden is exactly what you need. Now is also the perfect time to prune your fruit trees. This is important for two reasons. First of all, they grow much stronger and healthier if you prune them, and it will ensure that you get a much bigger harvest. And I also prune my berry bushes now. It's the perfect time in January and February to do that. You need to make sure that you're harvesting your winter vegetables on days that are above freezing, because when you're harvesting when it's freezing outside, the vegetables, when you bring them into your kitchen, will get really squishy and slimy and they are not that delicious. But if you leave your winter vegetables outside when it's freezing, they will fully recover by themselves when it gets above freezing, and then you can harvest them and they are really nice and fresh again. But how do you protect your plants when it is that cold outside? Frost blankets like this one don't just protect your plants from the cold, they also block all of these drying winds in the winter. Even though winter often feels damp, your plants can suffer from drought, especially if it's windy outside. This happens because of a phenomenon called frost drought. When the soil is frozen, the roots of your plants can't absorb water, even though the plants continue losing moisture through their leaves. And this particularly happens in sunny and windy weather. Now your plants can suffer from dehydration even if there's plenty of water in the soil. If this happens in your garden, it is best to water your plants on a frost-free mornings, so the water has time to soak in before nighttime frost hits. This is just a simple step that will help your plants survive the winter months a lot more easily. But watering alone isn't enough to protect your plants from winter's challenges. There's more you can do to protect them from sudden cold snaps. So here are some of the most effective protection measures. If you have a greenhouse, ensure that doors and windows are closed at night in order to keep the warmth inside. And I also close my cold frames at night for the same reason, but you need to make sure that you are ventilating your greenhouse and your cold frame for a couple of hours on a sunny day in order to get some fresh air in and to reduce condensation. And if you don't have a greenhouse or cold frame yet, are you planning to have one? Let's talk about our big garden dreams next. The motto of the month January is to dream and plan. Imagine how your garden could look in just a couple months from now. Maybe you're dreaming of a romantic cottage garden with vegetables and flower beds, or maybe a permaculture garden that practically runs itself, or maybe you want a minimalist raised bed garden. Your garden is a blank canvas for your creativity, so write down your ideas and gather inspiration. I use Pinterest for that, and gardening books or gardening blogs are fantastic resources. But dreaming alone doesn't make your dream come true. So let's talk next about how to bring these ideas to life. What vegetables should you grow? I always start by thinking about what we as a family like to eat most and which veggies or plants are the most expensive when you buy them from the store. I always love to write a list with all of the plants I want to grow this year and snuggle in an armchair and just dream about all of these crazy new varieties that I want to start growing. You can think about which one of these does maybe need a trellis, because now is a perfect time to prepare for that. You can use a net that you can just put up in a couple of minutes in order to support climbing vegetables. But there are other trellises that need a bit more time and consideration, and it's good to start planning things like these right now. There are also plants that I am harvesting a lot more more frequently than others. Lettuce, for example, or herbs are things that I'm running to the garden for constantly, almost every day when I'm cooking. But on the other hand, pumpkins or potatoes are veggies that I harvest only once a year. And especially if your garden beds are spread all over your property, it is really worth it to consider growing the first category of vegetables closer to your kitchen, and pumpkins and potatoes can grow in a space where they are not as accessible. Winter is the perfect time to dive into topics like staggered sowing, companion planting and crop rotation, and just sit down and plan your garden. And I will do an entire video about garden planning, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that, so we can just grab a cup of tea, snuggle into an armchair, and then plan our gardens together. Let's check our seeds next. Is your seed stock still viable? You can test this with a germination trial. Just place a few seeds between damp paper towels and see if they sprout. Or maybe you want to try some new varieties or new vegetables that you've never grown before. I am selling organic heirloom seeds in my online shop, but we're only shipping to Europe. So depending where you live, you might check it out. I will put the link in the first pinned comment. But how about your tools? Are they ready for action? That's up next. Let's do a quick equipment check together, because a good part of your gardening year also depends on your tools. I always make sure that I have enough insect netting, because I cannot grow any cabbage without these. And these are frost blankets that I need to keep my vegetables warm during the winter months. I also make sure that I have enough slug rings in order to protect all of my seedlings that I'm planning to plant in the upcoming weeks and months. And I also make sure that my hand tools and my bigger tools like a broad fork are clean and not broken, and to purchase anything that I might need for the season. Once your equipment is ready, let's look at what else needs your attention in the garden, and it's definitely birds and beneficial insects. Winter can be tough for wildlife. A bird feeder with appropriate food and a dish of fresh water can make a huge difference for the birds in your garden. And don't forget to leave leaf piles and dead plant stems undisturbed. They provide shelter for hedgehogs and insects. Most of us have a Christmas tree now in our house that we might want to get rid of, especially if you have a real one. Most Christmas trees are sprayed, and this way you might bring some harmful chemicals to your garden and to your compost if you plan on composting it, which is why I would only use the Christmas tree in my garden if I knew that it definitely hasn't been sprayed. But if you know you are safe, then you can use the branches as mulch or use them as a frost protection for sensitive beds. Winter is also the perfect time to get creative in your garden. You can build trellises from branches or old stakes and create insect hotels to provide a safe haven for pollinators. And it's also not too late to make a cold frame for easy spring planting. And did you know that you can grow pea shoots and microgreens right on your windowsill? This way you can make yourself a little indoor garden while it's still pretty cold outside. Microgreens and pea shoots grow so quickly and provide you with a vitamin boost during the cold months. Or you can start sprouting sweet potatoes by cutting them in half, letting them dry, and planting them in a pot with some dirt. You can use these as seedlings for your garden once it's a little bit warmer outside. It's also time now to prepare your seed starting station. I always wash my equipment with really warm water in order to eliminate any pests and diseases and make sure I have everything ready to start my seeds. And I also sterilize my seed starting mix in the oven for 30 minutes at 300 degrees Fahrenheit in order to prevent naughty little fungus gnats. Begin with slow growers like physalis, chili and sweet potatoes, as they need a really long growing season. And ensure your seed starting setup will provide plenty of light and a constant temperature. Seed starting season is ahead of us, and this probably means that we have fungus gnats all over the place very soon. These are a big issue because their larvae eat the roots of our tiny precious baby plants. And this is why you can watch this video and find out how to get rid of them or how to prevent them in the first place, and then just go outside and make the world a little greener. Thank you for watching. Bye.